Good evening. Many of us romanticize, I guess it's the British ideal. You've got the English people, or, well, respective white people from Britain that when they want to semi-retire, or when they want the sun, they go to Spain, Australia, and the likes of it. Us Muslims that are also British and born here, we romanticize about the UAE or the Middle East at large for many reasons. I mean, it's a multifaceted one. One, it can be said that it's a hijrah, we're going to a Muslim country. Others say they want to go and make money. Others say they want the sunshine. And ultimately, the way Dubai is portrayed or decorated, it's a lifestyle. So it does appeal to those that are young and ambitious and want to live a certain lifestyle, fast cars, and all the bling bling. There's others that want to go there and start a family or live out there because purely of the experience. And then there's others that go out there to do business. They have a lot of money here. They're paying exorbitant taxes. They go out to Dubai and it's tax free. I have here with me Tan. Now, Tan is very credible in Dubai and everything in and of Dubai. He not only worked out in Dubai, he also has a business out in Dubai called Taxcentric. And his primary focus of his business is to advise clients about tax and everything else regarding Dubai. He also is in regular contact with people in Dubai, living in Dubai, leaving Dubai, going to Dubai, and he does all their planning. So he, I think, is a great person to tell us about the ins and outs of Dubai, the myths, and really, as a layman, as a rich man, as an ambitious man or woman, or someone that wants to go out there with, newly married, when I go out there and set up a life there, is it really feasible for you? And ultimately, this episode is going to unpack and decipher the myth. Is there a fear of missing out? Because all we see on Instagram and those people that are in Dubai and relatively successful is the fast cars and nice clothes and, oh, look at me, I'm enjoying life. But that is, I don't want to burst any bubbles, but it sometimes is far from reality. Assalamu alaikum, Tan. Thank you very much for joining, or coming on rather. You've had extensive experience over the last decade or so with Dubai, and you've seen it really grow from what it was, a desert island, whereby they were poaching people to go there, particularly professionals and specialists, and they were giving them free accommodation, obviously the tax-free income, chauffeur, all of the other things. Now the landscape has changed because it's in our appetite to want to go out there. So we're focusing on Dubai, but by and large, Gulf states, Muslim states that do pay the higher wages for certain selective people, you can see the appeal to it. But I do want to, the thing is, whether it's myself, like-minded people, or people within the 20 to 35, 35 to 45, whatever it may be, part of us, I think it's just embedded in us. We've had enough of this country for many reasons. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the discourse or conversation that's happening now is about, oh, they don't want us in this country. And I have a lot to say about that anyway, but I'll allow you to speak now and talk about the financial constraints of Dubai, and really, are you going to make more than you spend out there?
Yeah. No, assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me on again. So yeah, as you say, it's a very hot topic now. People talking about the Middle East. We'd like to relocate from the UK. Things are getting a bit tougher here, not just for the Muslims, but for wider society. And is the Middle East a place to go? It's aligned to, I guess, Muslim values and things. But as I'd advise my clients and things, there's a lot more to think about. It's not just a case of going there and doing a cash grab, earn high salaries, or your income's not going to be taxed. There's a lot more to think about, particularly from the stage you're leaving the UK and what you're used to and the privileges that you might have had as well. So even early in my career, just to wind back a little bit, the Middle East was seen as a place to try to attempt to get some sort of package that you can get. You can relocate with your company there, get some opportunities out there, because the packages were very generous. And as you say, it was a time where people were opportunities were coming up, and they were looking for people to come out there and lure them in as much as possible. And this is, as you say, it grew from being just a desert, a place of trade, but then they really had this sort of foresight. They wanted to establish themselves on the global scene. So lots went out there from Western economies, and whilst being a young graduate, myself just entering into my career, I thought this is a good place to go. You can make some money, very good lifestyle as well. And those packages were very, very, I guess, very luring at those times. And you'd hear about it. You speak to people who talk about that a lot as well. And see, they're driving fast cars and nice big houses. And a lot of it was company funded as well. so it wasn't really impacting there, and they were able to save quite a lot. What I would say is things have quite shifted from then. There's a big influx of people globally, not just from the UK. You've got people from the States as well, other subcontinent countries as well. Big influx of people going out because they see there's lots of opportunities out there, especially for business or just a change of lifestyle from the countries that they're used to or coming from. And likewise, we're in the UK as well. So now things are, you could say, getting tougher here. People are starting to think, actually, is this time for myself now, me, my family? Is it time for us to go and seek out that opportunity? Could that be a place for us to live out the rest of our lives? So I think that's a topical conversation. Many people are having those thoughts and think of just packing things in the UK here and going out and venturing in the Middle East. We talk about Dubai a lot, but yes, Dubai is sort of the headline emirate. But there are obviously other emirates out there, other places, regions within the GCC as well, which likewise are sort of opening the doors now to migrant workers to come in and offer something. But there's a lot more to think about, just rather than just the salaries that are on offer. And this is something we try to make people think about before they enter into disastrous sort of traps that they could put themselves where they've not planned things properly or not thought about the future, especially when they've got families.
Yeah, perfect.
Involved, yeah.
Okay, let me give you a case study scenario. Someone that's between the age of 25 and 35, ambitious man. He's done a stint here, 5-6 years. Let's say the more financial career type, accountant, tax advisor, worked for the top four. He's thinking, I've had enough here. I want to go out to Dubai purely for the sunshine, but also the lifestyle, the money. Now, he's earning, I don't know, 70, 80 odd thousand pounds here. A clear incentive to go to Dubai and the likes of it is the tax. Please debunk the tax, the tax fallacy here, because tell me about how much you'll make after tax or without paying any tax, and then the cost of that.
Okay, let's rewind back. So my initial opportunity out there was because of tax coming out there in the first place.
Yeah.
So VAT was one of the first taxes that the Emirates was bringing out, as well as Saudi at that time. And that's where my opportunity came. So tax is going to be something that's very relevant there now. It's not just a case of being a tax-free haven. We talk about it being tax-free, that's from an income tax perspective. That you as an individual, you're earning money, you're not going to pay anything in income tax or national insurance like we do here. But businesses at the moment, as started in 2018, are starting to pay tax. There is tax in the economy, but it's at a low rate. So corporation tax has been brought out. Income tax is something that's being suggested could come out in the future. But at this stage in time, income tax is zero there. So people earning any of their money, revenue that they're getting sourced, which is from either Emirates or globally, as long as they're tax resident in the UAE, will not pay any tax.
So a young, successful man, not young, so an aspiring, successful man with a lot of ambition he's been offered a package to go out there, and he makes £100,000 a year. So that's roughly £8,500, £9,000 a month. How far does his money go, and can he save?
So it comes down to the individual. So a young person like your profile, 25 to 35, perhaps could be just a couple, maybe just married, no children. I would say at that point in time, with that kind of salary, it's probably a no-brainer to go there because of the income tax, tax-free status it'll get.
Okay.
You can save a lot more. And it comes down to the individuals as well. What do they want to get out of it? If they're spending like a tourist, this was something we have to differentiate. People go to Dubai and they think, glitz and glam, everything's beautiful there.
I can live here.
I can live here. I'd love this on an everyday basis, eating the top kind of foods, cuisines out there. But it's not sustainable on a daily basis. So even if you've got a very good salary there, but you're spending on that level and you're sort of following the crowd because your peers are doing a similar thing.
Right.
We're talking about Muslims there, but even non-Muslims that might enter the partying culture. Then you can find yourself that you're actually, when you leave the place, you're ending up with zero. You've got nothing to show for it. You've not saved anything. You've just bagged a lot of experience and a very good fun time that you've had. So, but for someone who's sensible with the resources they've got, they're not overly spending on a daily basis, not having these fancy brunches every week, etc. They could save quite a significant amount. And perhaps some of them may have a goal where they want to bring that money back to the UK or whatever European country they're from, and put a deposit down, for example, for a house, or buy it with cash, etc. As long as they've done the planning and stuff properly. But then on the flip side, you may have a family with you, with children. That kind of salary, then it starts becoming a lot more. There's less flex in that because you've got a lot more fixed expenses. Now, with a family, the first thing that comes to mind is education, healthcare. Those things are very, very relevant sort of considerations that you have to make. And those things cost money. Now, in the UK, I think a lot of people take for granted, myself as well, as growing up, we've got the likes of the NHS, we've got free education, schools, etc. That stuff costs money. Okay, and it's been funded obviously by the government, but it's public services, which is through tax receipts. That's a separate conversation we'll come on to. But that stuff, if you're paying on a private basis, can cost a lot of money, especially if you want it to a very good standard.
So just before I ask you about how much private schools are out there, I just want to bring you back to that case study. So someone that's on about 85 to £100,000 out there, how much would his accommodation cost?
So typically, I would say for someone who's renting out there, we would do it in sterlings. For a single person, they could be looking at, depending on the area, about between £1,000 to £2,000 a month. Okay. And of course, it can get even better and higher rates as well.
On average, someone that, because naturally the psychology is, because by default, we're entitled. And I want to just segue off a little bit. Our parents or grandparents that came to this country, they came to this country as a last resort. They had no choice in the matter. They came here because they were in abject poverty and they needed a way out. So they potentially came to this country and said, we'll sleep on the floor, work tirelessly, get treated like shit, excuse my language, and they'll deal with it. Us, on the other hand, being born here and the privileges that we're accustomed to, I mean, in perspective, we're the relatively poor person here is still wealthier than 90% of the world.
That's
and one of the consequences of that is our mindset. So when we go to Dubai, we're not going to go to Dubai thinking I'm going to be frugal. I'm going to either match the status quo, match the lifestyle I'm living here at the bare minimum, but naturally and psychologically, I want a little bit better.
Of course, especially in the nowadays when the sort of social media era, Instagram and things, people want to show a bit of an upgrade. You know, as they're progressing in life, their standards of living are improving as well. Especially when you talk about Dubai, people want to see that actually, what are you making of it?
What do you make?
You know, what have we got to show for it as well? So you are going to try keeping up with the Joneses there.
So how much is the accommodation going to be bearing that in mind? This psychology.
Exactly. So you're not going to sleep, for example, where the labourers sleep, on those kind of areas.
And which area is that? Dira?
The likes of Dira, Old Downtown, all those kind of stuff. So you've got these new areas springing up there. You know, new developments and things with all the sort of fancy facilities, amenities that you'd expect, like you used to, and things that you probably won't expect, like a swimming pool, for example, in your complex. All those kind of things that cost money because not only are you paying for the flat to buy or the apartment, which is one thing, because a lot of them are apartments there, maybe up to 2 beds. When you want to start upgrading to a 3-bed or a 4-bed, then you start looking at villas now. You know, that they're a lot more rarer. They're not, you know, in terms of supply, there's not many out there. So you are going to pay a premium for those kind of things. So it's those kind of things that, you know, it jumps up. It's all about supply and demand.
On average, if for argument's sake, this person's gone out there with a £90,000 a year salary, tax free. Let's use a ballpark figure. He's taking £8,500 a month, with the psyche of I want to live not luxury or exclusively, but I want to live comfortably. How much is his apartment costing? How much is his laundry costing? How much is his car costing? How much is his social life costing? Because you're not going to go out then be a loner.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can compartmentalize that, how much is he left with?
Yeah, so I'll say anyone who's looking seriously to go out there, if you compare it to what they've got here in the UK, you need to be looking on average a salary of at least £60,000 gross. Otherwise, you could be in a position where you're net worse off. And what do I mean by that? So you've got certain sectors of the society who have got basic privileges. You've got like the likes of education, healthcare, all that kind of stuff. Now, when you start looking into the costing of that in another environment where it's not free, those are what we call like stealth taxes, where you're having to pay for those things yourself and you need to be able to cover that. So if you're not earning up to a certain amount, you'll find that you're actually worse off in the sense that you're not able to save as much as you could have, like you were back in the year, because you've got these additional expenses or premium on those normal expenditure that you normally do. So £60,000 is usually something that's floated about, that if you're looking to, if you can earn that, or you've got a source of income which reaches that gross amount, then you're probably at that sweet spot where you're going to be better off.
That's a tall order. £60,000. To earn £60,000 in Dubai might not mean a lot, but if someone, £60,000 divided across 12 months is five grand?
Yep.
£5,000 a month. Now, with £5,000 a month in London, say if you're I mean, most people either are on mortgages or, like, fortunate enough, council houses, or still living with their parents, and that's primarily what South Asians do, and good for them, right? Good for us. You're getting a lot for your money because you're saving a lot. Out in Dubai, £60,000 is quite a lot. If you're saying that's to maintain a minimum lifestyle, what is it, like £3,000 on rent, £2,000 on
You
rent?
could look like £2,000 at least on rent, and that's fixed. And usually you pay that up front for the whole year.
Okay, right.
So you need cash in your bank to be able to pay that.
Yeah.
Unless your employer, who's taking you out there, is going to as part of the package.
Yep.
And as I say, these packages are not as they used to be back in the day. What we do encourage on the likes of the individuals I speak to are usually entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The ones who've got a source of income from online. You know, so they don't need to be anywhere physically.
Sure.
It's all sort of, we call it like Wi-Fi money, for example. So they are entrepreneurs, they're earning their money online. For those kind of individuals, they would be self-sustaining themselves. They're not going to have an employer as such paying for those costs. So for them, it's a very, very real conversation stuff for themselves. They have to really ask themselves the question, how much is the insurance going to cost me for health? How much is the rent going to cost me? Because there's no one else to pay for that. And if you do, say, have a bad month or things are just drying up in terms of your business, there's no real backdrop, is there? There's no state that you can fall back on to cover those. There's no welfare state to cover your costs, your rent, etc., all that kind of stuff. Those are real considerations. And when that does happen, even if you've lost your job out there, get a grace period, usually about 30 days. You might get a bit of a severance pay package. But then what do you do? If you can't find another job, where do you go? Naturally, you're going to come back home. And where is your back home? Is where your citizenship is, where you hold your passport, which is the UK. So on a long-term basis, you can't think you're going to be there forever just because of the way it is, just the way society is set up there and the economy is. You have to be earning. You have to be contributing to that economy.
How do you mean by contributing?
Contribute in the sense that you are generating income. So you're generating income and you're also spending in the economy. But you're not in the case, you're not going to be a recipient whereby the state is going to fund your lifestyle or fund your basic necessities. That's just not going to happen.
So if you don't have money, you shouldn't be there.
If you don't have money and you haven't got enough money in the pot to last you, say, 3 to 6 months, or for a rainy day, but a very long rainy day, I would say, then it's something you really need to consider. Like, what would you do when those tough times come? Now, there was a serious crash that happened out there back in 2008 in Dubai. The real estate market crashed completely. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people found themselves that they had finance on their cars, for example, and unaffordable commitments. And they realized, we haven't got a job now. What do we do? There's nowhere for them to turn to help them get them out of that sort of that pickle they were in, the hole. And a lot of them just had to abscond. They just left the country. And there's a lot of images going around of, I don't know if you saw a lot of cars like parked at the airport, and they just left because they knew we can't pay for these commitments that we've got. And that source of income that they thought they had forever, as such, was all just temporary. It was all based on a visa, based on employment. And what could they do? Nothing but just return back to their countries. So it's something people really have to think about. Like, if that situation did come up, if you haven't got a sustainable income or you're dependent on an employer, what would you do in those circumstances? And have you got enough in reserve to help you out?
Have you got the data to tell me what the median income is in Dubai? Not for a business person, so to speak, because business people, they traverse the world. But for those young or even, relatively young, aspiring career professionals, how much can they really look to earn out there? Because everyone's thinking, if I move out there, I minimum have to earn £100,000. Is that the case?
It's a very difficult number. And the reason I say that, and whoever goes out there, you will see that society is quite divisionalized in the sense that you've got a big spectrum of people, from the very, very poor laborers who are just about making ends meet, and their goal is just to be able to send money back home to their families. And then you've got the very, very wealthy there, very affluent, who can, spend through the nose and ears if they want to. So that spread is quite large, and there's no minimum wage as such as well, like we do have here. You could say the average salary here is across the country about £25,000 to £30,000, for example. It's very difficult to put that. But in both spectrums of those individuals, those labourers out there, people who are working and earning, their lifestyles are very, very different as well. Here, you can't really tell, I say in the UK, someone walking down the street, like, if that's a very wealthy person or not very wealthy. We generally dress the same, speak the same, act the same, go to the same kind of hospitals, etc. Over there, it's a lot more obvious that who you are and what kind of job you're perhaps doing as well. So you'll have these laborers, as I say, because they're earning on the bottom side of things. They're probably eating from those very cheapest of restaurants, going to those cheapest of hotels, what they can just afford. And then you've got the other spectrum, the other side, who are there because they want a very luxurious lifestyle. So that, even if you did give an average, it's going to be quite distortive. It's not reflective of what's actually going out there.
Putting aside those successful business people, men and women, just for the everyday average British Muslim, in our case, what's the bare minimum they should accept to go out there? Because bear in mind, they're accustomed to a certain level of luxury here. They may not see it as luxury, but to most of the world it is. What would be like? Because if someone does move out, say they're young and married, they just got married. Oh, we're going to move out there. I'm stereotyping here, but let's go with the stereotype. My wife's going to teach out there. I'm going to be I work for the top four. I'm going to get an accountancy job. Whatever it may be, those financial jobs. What's the bare minimum that they need to take? 100 to live comfortably and save?
I would say with a family with 3 children, aim for £100,000 gross. Okay, because you're going to be paying for, and again, it comes down to what your employer is going to be funding for you. Let's assume they're covering part of your education for the children, your healthcare and all that stuff. £100,000 will be something I would say is worth it, because then you can save enough as well. You can start building, and then whilst maintaining a good lifestyle as well.
As an individual, how much? Where you can go and still, I don't want to use the word party, but it's. I'd like to think, this might be controversial, but it's like the Muslim Las Vegas out there. I'd like to think.
Some would say.
I mean, I've heard of, people going out there and having a very good time. And that's their volition. So an individual, say someone that's 27, 28, how much should they accept at the bare minimum? And bear in mind, they want that lifestyle. They might not be able to afford a Lamborghini, but put that to a side. Just a nice car, a Range Rover, or what is it, G-Wagon out there that they commonly have. You can't afford that on a wage, can you?
No, not on that kind of wage.
No.
Again, I'll say the sweet spot for someone, any individual going out there, sort of that age range, you think they've done a few years in terms of their career, they've sort of established themselves. Aim for about the £50,000 to £60,000 mark, where you can save a good fair amount, and you can start achieving your financial goals. So you can take something back to your country. And as I say, most want to buy a house, etc. And you've got enough to be able to do that, and whilst having a good standard of living out there. Now, what I would say is for people who are graduating, students who are graduating very early on their career, it's not the best place to go, because it's quite a juvenile economy in the sense that it's not a place where they're going to be training those individuals like you have in the UK. We've got established industries, established institutions where they'll take on graduates, they'll train you from the zero up, and then you could sort of go ahead and fly yourself, and then the world's your oyster as such. Over there's not quite the place to learn. Rather, you should be adding something back, because you're a person who's skilled, you've picked up good experience in your home economy, and you can add something to that economy. You can add and do something with it there. You should have a mindset of you're learning, you'd like to absorb, but not from the ground up. You should have something, at least a base. You do see individuals like real estate brokers going out there. They would take a bit of a gamble, say, look, I would work on just a commission basis. There's no minimum wage, there's no base salary I'm given at all. And they'll go very early on their careers and just give it a stab, and so, I'll give it 6 months, see how far I can get. And if they do very well, they can make very good commission, very good earnings. And, that could just take them very, very far, because, with the kind of real estate industry, it's all about network, it's all about...
And all of them that are relatively successful, they live very high-end lifestyles.
They do. Eventually they get there. So they've earned themselves, they've got themselves to that position.
But they've worked hard, it's a gamble.
They worked,
like in London as well. I'd like to think, how Dubai has been portrayed as the sort of new New York to the world. I think if you're really wanting to make money, yes, tax in this country, some would say, is very punitive and a bugbear. But really, to make money, you want to make money in London. And if you've got an established base in the UK, because the pound sterling is gold, then you can go to Dubai and do whatever you want, and anywhere across the world, to be fair. But I think have your base here. But some people are not into business. They just want a really good job and a comfortable life.
So even, setting out your career there, if you do want to start a career, it's very helpful to say, I've worked in the States, I've worked in the UK, I've got this much experience in London working for these companies. That has a lot of weight to it, especially when you're demanding those salaries. Another key point to emphasize as well is the competition there. Okay, especially for the working population. You are competing with a global market. There are individuals coming out there, especially from the subcontinent, who are quite highly skilled, very technical, especially like the IT industry, in my field, the accountancy industry, who would work for probably a half of what the salary you demand, or a third even.
Indians primarily.
Indians, Pakistanis, Bengalis, but yes, from the South Indians particularly,
Yeah.
you find there's it's quite noticeable when you go out there. They are a big part of the population there. And they're therefore, primarily the reason is because they were seen as cheaper labor, but also skilled labor as well. And you have to be fair, they have worked hard in that regard.
They're competent.
They're competent in what they do, and they would work for a lot less. And they'll probably work a lot harder than you and I. Definitely harder than I would. So because of that mindset, I think the industries there, the businesses and companies out there, they know that we've got that we've got that pool, easily willing to take on the jobs, the postings that we've got, and they would work for. So why should we not hire Raj from India, but rather go for Abdul, who's coming from East London, and he's demanding 3 times the salary, for example? Yes. So it's an obvious question. Yes, and you can understand from business sense. We'll say, I'll get that guy, and he'll work for less and more, and be less rowdy even. Less prone to complain when things are a bit tough and all this kind of stuff. To love that less entitled mentality, because obviously we come from a very sort of systemized industry here.
So we have it really good here, and I think people don't understand. Just on this topic, before I move on to another juicy topic, employment law.
Yeah.
Okay, we all know what employment law is here, and I'm sick, or I've got mental health issues, or I feel sad today. How does that work out there, and how quickly can they let you go out there?
So employment laws are not as strict as they are here, but it's something, to be fair, it's been developing over the past few years. Okay?
What do you say strict, as in protective of its employees?
Protective employees, policies in place where you could take your employer to employment tribunal if they've done something untoward.
They'll probably laugh you out of the room now.
Yeah, exactly, and it probably comes down to nationality as well. That could impact a lot of those conversations that you're having with the employer, or where they are looking to get rid of people. And of course, if you are on the highest salary brackets, you're usually usually the first ones to exit the door if they are looking to do cost-cutting exercises, which will happen anyway. But even over there, but there's less recourse in terms of taking your employer to an employment tribunal, or
if you're discriminated against or anything,
all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's very hard.
Unless you're working for companies that are here, that are based out there, Deloitte,
generally, yes. But then if they have got some global policies, like an American company, etc.,
or British,
you'd think they would be a bit more fairer, and they would adopt those home policies. But perhaps in those kind of regions, they'll think, we can get away with certain things, and there's less. They will. It's not unknown, and it can happen.
Okay.
So I've seen people, gone out there on certain posts, and after 2 years, they've just been terminated, given maybe a 3-month payoff, and then you're just left how you are, and then there's no real way of sort of appealing it, all that kind of stuff. You're just left at your own whim, and you have to.
What about in terms of labour? What are the expectations of work? Because here it's 9 to 5. On average, depending on if you're doing
so
a corporate
it's unspoken rule. So there is generally a cap on how many hours they can't ask you to work. Even for labourers, a certain temperature that they can work on the outdoors. But with anything, there's always ways that people find, workarounds to that, or tweak certain things to circumvent those laws and things. But with time, as cases come up, more grievances are sort of spoken about, especially in the social media era. And this is where the government starts looking at things and think, okay, what can we do to tighten these things up? Because we are sort of on the global scene now. People are taking a closer look and paying more attention to our policies, especially with a place like the GCC, the Emirates and stuff. They want to be accepted into being like an OECD member, etc. So there's certain things they need to do or prove before they can be accepted into those circles on the global scene. But they're definitely working towards that. They're improving on a lot of aspects of employment in general life and things, which is helping them. And I guess it's attracting people to come out there to a certain degree and giving them some sort of protection. But there's no way I would say it's quite there yet as it is in the West, because they've been established so much longer.
Thank you. We're going to move on now to visas. The gist from what you've said so far is, well, I can deduce the rhetoric is go out there, whether it's for fun, whether it's to make money, certain lifestyle, but it's all temporary. It's not your permanent base. So this begs the question, in this country we have, obviously, you've actually sent me a podcast where they're saying that this is not our country and we should leave. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. But if you were to go to the Middle East and you're trying to set up shop there with a family, etc., they won't give you a permanent visa.
Yeah, so if you compare this to our sort of fathers, our parents who came here, we came on invite.
Yeah.
We were part of, our countries are part of the the British Empire, Commonwealth, etc. And there was a need for our parents to come here and work, especially our forefathers. You could be a second, third, fourth generation.
Yeah.
So we came in very different circumstances, and they were willing to compromise a lot more things.
Yeah.
And with that, because of part of the British Empire, citizenship, etc., was a lot more easier to achieve. And I think a lot of our sort of parents and that kind of generation did bank on it. They got that citizenship as a protective measure, and we are sort of bearing the fruits of it now.
Yeah.
Okay. No one can easily just kick you out the country.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
You know, as people quite threatened, because we are on an equal footing. We've got the same kind of equalities and exactly the same rights as every other individual has out there with a passport. Going out to the Emirates or anywhere in the GCC, as you say, your visa is a temporary. So you're there on a temporary basis, and sometimes you have to have that mindset to know that we're here now, but tomorrow we may not be here. And same with the children as well. They would realize that the friends they have in schools and stuff, those friends may not be there because they're on the same basis. They may be moving to another country.
Yeah.
So that stability is not quite the same from even from a psychological perspective. The people you know, they may not be there tomorrow, and everything's constantly revolving. And this comes down to your citizenship. Now, a lot of these kind of countries, because they're trying to attract foreign investment or people to come out there and take a longer stint, they are starting to offer what's called golden visas. But it's for certain industries, certain amount of income as well that you're going to bring in, or how much you're going to invest in those economies. It's for those kind of individuals where you can think to yourself, okay, I've definitely got another 10 years here because I've got a golden visa. But that's attracting a very certain type of niche individual.
The echelons of society.
Exactly. The ones that are upper class, the ones who are really going to bring a lot of wealth and contribute and make the image of that region look great. They don't want people who are just going to be there on the bottom of society. They will use you as much as you can afford or as much as you can offer.
Yep.
And then you're sort of not really
So it's
worth
it's a give and take.
Exactly. It comes down to that.
For the average person that wants to perform hijrah, as some people put it now, they go to Dubai or the likes of Dubai. There's a very real fact that they will never get citizenship.
Yeah.
So surely the idea of performing hijrah to these countries, because let's have it right. When you're trying to go to these sorts of countries, the only reason you're going there is because you can identify Western ideals there. They make it as West friendly as possible.
Yeah.
So you're going there maybe for hijrah. I mean, whatever your intentions are, but the real pull there is that because you know people are speaking English there.
Yeah.
You've got European brands there. You've got German brands there. Whatever it may be, shops and stuff like that. So even if you do try and do hijrah there, you can't because they won't give you a citizenship.
Yeah, so it's all, as I say, it's all temporary because you're there. You may be up to the max 10 years. Okay, you might have to renew it and things, but those things are all on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be there forever. And you may get a very nice experience in the time you were there.
Can you bring kids up there?
I mean, it's physically possible, but some people opt against it. And the reason why is because they think actually there's too many privileges. Everything's given on. I don't want to. They have this mentality. I don't want to spoon feed my child everything or present to them that life is like this. Present to them that the world operates in this way, where everything is air conditioned. You're driving from one place to another. Everything is glitz and glam. To a certain degree, you want your children to experience a bit of that roughness, a bit of that toughness, to make themselves be able to withstand sort of when things get tough in another environment, another economy, another market, etc. If they don't have that upbringing, at that young age, it's a lot more difficult. So sometimes you have to take them out of that and put them in a tougher environment so that they can build up that resilience. So just come back to the point. So in terms of, yes, people are going there for religious reasons as well, because there is, alhamdulillah, that's one thing you have to know. Places Dubai, Abu Dhabi and stuff, there's masajid everywhere. You can hear the adhan, and people love that aspect, especially when they go on holiday. They love this aspect.
Yep.
Now, yes, you've got the mosques and everything there. People do pray and stuff, but beyond that, it's something you have to really think about. Beyond that, beyond the salah, beyond the prayer, what more can my child access, for example, or myself as well, in terms of the lessons, in terms of institutions, in terms of Islamic schools? And if you look back, and personally, even I've looked at that, comparing it to the UK, we are quite well established here because we've been here for quite a few decades.
Yep.
Our forefathers, etc., established some very good masajid here, institutions, schools, who've been churning out Huffaz, the likes of Huffaz, alims, all this kind of stuff. And that's come from years of perseverance and established institutions. So you can't say that these things are not available in the UK or even the US because it's quite apparent. We are churning these kind of individuals out. So you can access those. You can get those things in the UK as well. But there is things which some things are out of our control. Those things, yes, we can access. But the likes of schooling, there's a
But
lot of
ultimately,
debate.
you can't be kicked out of this country
Yeah.
at this current moment in
Mm-hmm.
time. Whereas in Dubai, you can.
Yeah. So and where would you go? You'd come back to the UK because you've got that citizenship, you've got that passport.
Yeah, which is
And I
gold.
think a lot of people go with that mentality, think, yeah, if it doesn't quite work out, I can always come back here. They're not going to go back to Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, are they?
No.
That's otherwise our parents would have done that. That's right. That's going to be the very, very last resort of going there, unless you're very, very wealthy and you've got generation wealth that you could just live off.
Yeah.
So it's something that's taken for granted that you've got the citizenship. This is your home,
Yeah.
and you can always come back here. But with that comes rules as well. Like if your children, for example, are born overseas, they can access a British passport, and you most likely would get that. But then when their children are born overseas, it's not as easy.
Okay.
They could be losing their right to citizenship in the UK. So it's something that people don't want to let go of. They really want that British passport because it gives you a lot of visa-free access in a lot of countries. Yeah,
And protection.
It gives a lot of protection. You get a lot of security with that.
Yeah.
So it's not something people are going to easily let go of.
Yeah.
But I sometimes think people want the best of both worlds.
What about even giving birth? Someone's out in Dubai, a couple's out in Dubai. Is it crazy for me to say that that person, that couple, are gonna just before giving birth, they're gonna fly to the UK?
Oh, that it does happen. I've known many individuals. They perhaps think it's free. For example, first of all, it's free
So
to
they
give birth in
charge.
it.
They charge in Dubai.
In Dubai, yeah, because it's all based on private health insurance. And then on top of
wow.
that,
So you can't. You have to pay to give birth.
essentially you're paying through your insurance, but your insurance may cover a certain amount, so you may have to cough up. But in the UK, you can give a birth for completely free, for example. And not only that, it's a quality of service. So some people may not trust as much the medical services in that particular hospital that they've got access to. I don't want my child to be born there just in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
You have to medically intervene. Have they got the facilities?
Yeah.
They say, I'd rather go back to the NHS
Yeah.
and give birth in the UK. And maybe for paperwork purposes, it's a lot easier. Get a birth certificate here, passport, all that kind of stuff. So you see, when the time comes or when there's a need, they'll resort back to the UK because of those facilities or those privileges that they do have here and resort to that. The other thing to mention as well is because in any private health insurance industry, there's a tendency for doctors or those management to push you towards unnecessary treatment as well, which may not be required. Whereas in NHS, it's like, if you don't need the treatment, we're not going to give it because it costs money, right? But then if you're paying for it, they're going to try selling you
business.
something. Yeah, exactly. It's a business at the end of the day. So that mindset is sometimes a bit, from what I've heard, it can influence doctors. There can be a bit of a dichotomy where they're having to sell their service rather they just want to treat patients. So I think some people are wary of that. Am I being told to take a treatment on, especially when it comes to a child? Imagine they tell you that your child is he's just been born and there's a severe sort of complication. We have to do X, Y, Z. You're not, and they, there's a price tag attached to it. What are you gonna? You're not going to say, yeah, turn off for example, the ventilator that my child's on and stuff. No. You're gonna have to pay for it, however many days it takes. But in the NHS, if there's a need for it, the doctors will do it, and there's no questions asked about money or anything of that sort. So you could be put in sort of very difficult circumstances, life or death, but you're not going to know. And those kind of situations will then really, really impact the pocket if you've not really protected yourself with the right sort of policies and things. And those things only come to the fore when you're in those situations or you've heard those cases.
So essentially, from what if I can extrapolate, it's all money orientated.
Unfortunately, it's an environment built upon money. Yeah. So it's about how much money you can give, how much you can transact with. Not to say that's not going to change. Now, we're talking about expats there. Now, I would say the indigenous people who are living in the GCC, they have life very good, especially if their economies are quite healthy, like the Emirates and stuff. Yeah. For them, it's a beautiful place to live because they will get generally things for free, education as well, healthcare. It's all state sponsored, right?
But my concern are our people, right?
People. We're not citizens, so you won't get the same privileges.
The thing is, and I admire those that do want to go out there, whether it's romanticised, I want to live out there for a few years, we can get to the other side of the world in 24 hours. And why not? Why not? Let me try and find out. This might be for me. I might have a break. And from all the people that go out there, whether it's business people or friends that are out there, they say it's the best place to network. And really, if you want to see money, it's out there.
Yeah. I think that's a fair statement because it's a great place to accelerate your wealth, to go out there, build up those networks, do deals, make business and stuff. But again, it could be maybe for 15, 20 years, for example.
That's a long time.
It's still a long time, and you can make the most of it and bank on it, work hard. Yeah. It's a beautiful opportunity. And likewise, you don't have to compromise on certain religious things because you stay close to your mosque, you can pray all the time. Maybe you have because of where you're working now in the UK, for example, you don't have those sort of accesses to mosques all the time, or even the company you're working for, you feel a bit sometimes compromised. Over there, you shouldn't feel that, especially like the likes of Saudi, for example, as well.
Yeah.
There's mosques everywhere. Religion is a big part
And
of
a big
society.
thing for us, especially our Muslim women, is the high element. You know, they don't have to. Unfortunately, we live in a landscape now where a woman that's wearing a hijab has to, particularly in areas where it's primarily non-Muslim, they have to look over their back because there might be a coward around the corner. Obviously, in those countries, hijab and haya and modest dressing, now anyway, is still preserved and sanctified. So I can see the big pull for us to think, you know what, let's move. But your point, I think, is this, and my point anyway, my advice, if anything, is I think set up base here and then go there. But this is us. This is our home.
Ultimately, it'll come down to it. And I think when the going gets tough, people always roll back to the UK. They'll always come back here.
And that's not a bad thing.
It's not.
Because it's a two-way street. They're trying to take money off us or add whatever it is, our skills, experience. But ultimately, we're there for a purpose as well. Whether it's holidaying, well, in a bubble holiday, luxury stuff, better lifestyle. But we want to make money as well. So
no, absolutely. You do want to progress in life. You want your children as well to be able to progress, have the best start in life as much as possible. But as you say, I think, and this is what the point comes down to, is we take for granted what we've got here. Okay, and we sometimes come from this position of privilege. We think we deserve better, the sense of entitlement. But do we? You know, we're here. We should be grateful for what we've got, what we've been able to achieve as a society, as an ummah here in the UK, and what we've got. It's not. There's not the time to start throwing it down the trash can and saying, you know, oh, it's rubbish. Things are so bad here, etc.
Are they really though? Are they really?
I think there are certain sections of society who are doing that. I don't want to use those kind of phrases, but they're sort of
scaremongering.
They're just trashing everything there is about the UK.
You shouldn't live here. But the thing is, you know, the dissent that you're doing in this country, you know, you're to by and large full extent are allowed to say what you say, provided that you don't offend anyone. And obviously there's a grey area there. But in the Middle East or any other country around the world, you're not allowed to say what you want to say.
Yeah, the free speech and stuff is not as quite free here. So you
Could you imagine being in Dubai and then criticising the authority? What would happen to you?
Of course, it's something you wouldn't want to do.
But you could do this in this country.
You'd get away with it here. Yeah, the laws sort of protect you to have free
the thing
speech.
is, just we're wired in that way where we think, you know, even for instance, the police in this country, and I don't condone it, but you can tell the police to F off and nothing happen. How will that fare in Dubai or any other of these countries?
I think when people hear about some of those stories out there, how for such menial things people have been arrested or even deported, they know they should. There's no way in hell it wouldn't cross their minds to do anything like that. So even for trivial things like jaywalking, for example, on across the road, you know, for that you can get penalised. You know, the police can pull you up for it and things, and you don't want to get on the wrong side of the police there.
Authority,
you know, and this is why society is working quite well to a certain degree because people are quite fearful of
it works.
You know, stepping out of line, and then you know there's going to be consequences, quite severe consequences, and that's why things like theft and stuff is very, very rare there.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Yeah,
so those are the kind of things people are looking for: that security, the safety element.
But you can't go to a protest with your banners and placards.
You wouldn't see protests. We've been seeing that in the Haram and things. You know, people have been banned from taking Palestinian scarves and all that kind of stuff. And I guess this comes down to the authorities.
Ultimately, keep your British citizen. That's what we're saying.
I suppose so. Yeah, if you don't want to sort of revoke your citizenship. And I think money wouldn't when they realise actually what's the background. You know, I'm not going to get systems this place. If I give up my UK passport, it's just going to be my ethnic country. You know, it could be Pakistan, Bangladesh. And stuff. Do you really want to? Is that really for you? Is that really what you'd like for yourselves? But you know, we'll have to see how this pans out in the next 100 years. You know, maybe there will be an influx, more people going to Emirates, and maybe they'll open up citizenship.
It might be. It might be. For example. There's so much more I want to talk about, but just sticking on those that are saying this country's not for us, or there is, without a shadow of a doubt, increasing pressure where we are being othered and we are becoming the other. And things may get difficult here, but we're not there yet, I don't think. And I think we also have to be clever in the way in which we operate.
Yeah. I think we have to be sensible.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've established... So I see a bit of a cycle. So what we're going through now is probably reminiscent of what in the 80s and 90s our fathers, etc., or even the 70s went through. You know, the riots, race riots, all that kind of stuff, those tensions building up. So maybe it was still there lingering in the background, but it was suppressed. And now it's sort of come back to the fore. And I think this is partly down to wider government policies and things. People are getting very frustrated
Yeah.
of where they are economically, what's happening to them, and they want to take it out, vent it out on someone or something.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's other parts of crime that are sort of coming in the media, and they're
Well,
targeting
like the
sort of
senseless
Muslims.
stabbings and stuff like that. It's not
Exactly.
safe.
Yeah. So, and some of it is down to global, foreign policies, all that kind of stuff, which then just amplifies, especially for Muslims here. But it's for us. If you look at where we are now compared to decades before, we're in very good positions. A lot of our Muslim population quite affluent. We've got political power now as well. You look in companies, got quite high status positions. So we're very much a very important part of society now. And I hold this view that if we were all to leave, the Muslims here, for example, society here would collapse because we're such an important part of it. And they needed us at that time and they still need us now. And we've very much become ingrained. And I'd like to think we are ingrained with society. We are part of society. And the society is, we are British end of the day.
Just to double down on that, just precisely the point of being British. You and I may not be white.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm not trying to be white.
Yeah.
I am what I am, right? But equally, particularly those that are born here, like yourselves and us, and most of us, right?
Yeah.
We are as equally entitled to everyone else. Why? The thing is, what I think is seeping through, or the narrative that's being pushed now is, yes, you're born here, but really you're not English. You're not English. Yeah, you're not white. But no one's trying to, we're not trying to be white, but that doesn't mean that we're second-class citizens. And the moment that us Muslims start perceiving or start accepting that we may be second-class citizens is when we've lost. Why should you feel like you're second class? If you've lived here 30, 40 years of your life, you don't know any different. This is technically your mother tongue, etc. Why are you a second-class citizen? Why?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you've got some of the right-wing media and the fascists spewing this, like we need their consent, right?
Yeah.
But also you've got people from within our factions saying, oh yeah, this is a kuffar country. Yes, it might be not a Muslim country, but it's not a Christian country either. It's a secular country. But equally, they're not saying we can't pray here. They're not saying we can't do what we need to do. But the most important thing I want to say is that whether we're not white, right? But that doesn't mean anything. You have land here, you have a house here, you went through the schooling system here. It's your country as much as anyone else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't get coerced into thinking psychologically that, yeah, I am a second-class citizen. Or even if I saw a video yesterday, actually, some drunk English woman, probably works in the pub or something, calling the P word.
Yeah, okay.
But you know what I don't understand is, even if they are racist towards you, because race is an arrogant thing. If I'm racist towards you, it's because somehow I'm saying I'm better than you because of X, Y, and Z. Now, this person being racist towards me, in what metric are they better than me?
Yeah.
In what metric? That's what it is.
Yeah.
If they're not attacking your religion, let them be. It's not affecting your life.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree with that. And those very people, those English people, say who are being the right wing, etc., who are being racist and things, they at one point in time, their forefathers, their grandparents and stuff, were probably migrants here themselves as well. It could be Normandies, Vikings, whatever. So this is how England has been built upon. We are now just that newer population.
It's very important that we don't slip into thinking that we are second-class citizens, because I think there's a concerted effort being pushed to make us feel that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why are we second-class citizens?
I don't think we should. And to be honest, if you look at the base level and stuff, we're not second class. There are opportunities equal for everyone.
That's it.
So that's how.
And you have to commend this country for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So otherwise, we wouldn't have a Pakistani Muslim mayor, for example.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't be having people who are reaching the top positions within companies here.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that in other locations, other regions, because
no.
those opportunities there'll be a glass ceiling. There'll be those opportunities would just not present themselves to them. So in that respect, there's been a lot of opportunities we've given to us, and so we shouldn't have that mentality to think and fall into that trap to be made to think that we are second-class citizens, because we're not. And I think, just coming back to the point you made, is that we've got a big responsibility ourselves as a Muslim population to show the value and show ourselves in the best light as possible to society, to the British community of what we've done, maybe remind them of what we are about and stuff. We hear a lot in the media, in the news and stuff, about the bad stuff that certain factions of our society are doing. And then people start
that's with everyone, though. That's with everyone.
But unfortunately, it's just the way propaganda and things work. So that then just presents a view or an image of, all Muslims are like, all Pakistani males, for example, are into grooming gangs, etc., all that kind of stuff. When we know it's not. It's just certain pockets. So it's for us to really demonstrate ourselves, be it in schools, be it in our workplaces.
We do that anyway.
I'd like to think so,
We
but
do that anyway, whether we need to prove them a point or not. I mean, to be fair, they should, with these people that are saying that, you know, our religion is backwards and we live in the Stone Ages and we oppress our women, just come and observe us.
Yeah.
Not because we're trying to show you. You could learn a lot from us.
Yeah. So I think it's down to us to open that invitation, give that olive branch and say, look, come to our mosque, for example, come interact with us.
Yeah.
So it's, we call it sort of indirect dawah, isn't it? So, and obviously you have individuals out there, even from our communities and things, who don't present themselves in the best light. They're doing, say, true, you know, they're doing some very suspicious kind of things, you know, on the roads and things like that, which doesn't give the best image of Muslims. So that's what I mean by responsibility. We have to think it's not just myself I'm representing, but my wider population. So even like an evil act, like an act of terrorism, for example, we know that person's probably thinking from their individual perspective. I'm doing this act, I'll probably get rewarded, etc. You know, distorted views. They're not looking at, and this is what the scholars say, look at the impact of what they're going to have on society, the wider society. And that's why it's haram, because you're bringing harm on your wider brothers and sisters who have to bear the brunt of it.
And never does it say to harm innocent.
Yeah.
Never does it say. Conscious, we've veered away from the immigration or expat issue. But I think they're equally very important points. I just want to finish on this particular matter. Whether you like it or not, you and I, we are more Western than anything else. And you can't help it.
Yeah.
Which is why Dubai and the likes of Dubai is such an appeal. Look at Saudi. How Westernized have they become? Who are they trying to attract? Who? Yeah. We're part of the people they're trying to attract. So they're making it Muslim Western friendly because we are very Western.
And I think that most comes out when you actually go visit those places.
That's what it is.
You start holding into your British identity, your British ways of doing things, food.
Absolutely.
And that's what really comes to the because
you know the most biggest entitlement that we have. I'm guilty, and I'm sure you're guilty of it. You go to a foreign country, you don't speak English.
Yeah.
Look at the entitlement we have. And that's British.
Yeah.
You don't speak English. What? Wait, you live under a rock. All these things. And I'm not trying to say that we are what we are, but ultimately, our way of thinking is British.
Yeah.
Our creed is different, alhamdulillah, but our way of thinking, the fabric, the structures we fall under are by and large British. Last question. Is Dubai and the likes of it for everyone? We can see the riches it has with it and the lifestyle, but is it for everyone?
It's not. And that's what the point I'd like to jump home is.
Yeah.
Don't think just because XYZ is going out there, it's been talked about in the media, I've seen various different YouTube posts or Instagram posts, everyone's going out there, I must be missing out on something. I must be doing something wrong by staying put. It's not for everyone because of A, the risks involved with it, and B, the short-term nature of it as well. Okay. And it will be, as we talked about before, in a certain phase of your life or certain part of your life, it will make sense to go out there and make the best of that opportunity. But it's going to be, as I say, it's going to be quite a temporary thing. And the biggest likelihood, you're going to have to fall back to your home country, which is most likely the UK. And at that age where your retirement, you can't really work anymore, then what's going to happen? And of course, we have not even really touched on this, your family point as well. You've got wider family. If you do leave them here, it's not as easy to stay in contact. Yes, you might do the FaceTimes here and there, all that kind of stuff. But when you leave, you're sort of building, you're cutting off that sort of contact with your family on a daily basis, your friends as well. And when you do come back after 20, 30 years, is it easy to just pick things up where you left it off? No, because things would have moved on. You know, it's very hard to build those kind of relationships again. So again, it's something to think about. It's not going to work out for everyone. And it really depends on your sort of what you can offer in terms of skill wise, you know, what kind of income you've got.
Highly skilled business people.
I would say for them, it makes the most sense at this point in time. But also the sort of age group you're at as well, and what you want to get out. Are you willing to put in that hard, that hard graft?
It's not easy though. It's hard.
Yeah, make the most of it. Or do you want a bit of a relaxing lifestyle? You've got some passive income here in the UK. You're willing to just put your feet up and stuff. And
that makes sense now. Yeah. If you're clearing £5,000-10,000 here,
then you
comfortably can go live there.
You can comfortably live out there if you wanted to. Yes. But then again, it's a short-term nature when things as I say, as you get older and stuff, you've got more healthcare needs and things. Yeah. It's going to get more and more expensive. And you might start thinking twice about it. Is it sustainable? So everyone has to really think on the individual level. Does it make sense for me? How long would it make sense for? For example, my children's education. Do they need to go to university in a few years' time? And am I willing to pay those international rates because I'm no longer
just quickly on that? So the international rates. So if you've left the UK, even though you're a British citizen and you're out in Dubai for 7-8 years now. And your children are of age, university age, and you want to send them to obviously British universities because best university in the world. How much are you paying?
So I've had clients even ask about this, and obviously the natural tendency is you want to pay the home rates, which is what, £9,000, 9,250. The international rates can start from anything about 20,000, 25,000 upwards, up to £50,000 a year.
What cohort are you the home rates or international rates?
Everyone, ideally speaking, you'd like to get the home rates, but there are rules in place.
Okay.
So one thing is about the being ordinarily resident for 3 years prior to the admission.
Okay.
So you have to prove that you were here in the UK, resident here, or at least actually it's the child, but the child's very unlikely to be here alone, so it's the family. And if you haven't got that status of been here 3 years before they're starting admission, you won't
so essentially,
qualify
if they
for
didn't
home
go to college and school here, they're paying £27,000
That's something you're going to
for
fix
a British university
per year.
per year.
Per year. So you can see this kind of stealth taxes, all the saving you've done for those years are now being spent in other ways now, because those privileges are not quite there, because you have sort of sacrificed it to a certain degree. But perhaps maybe you've saved up enough and you're okay. Or what you're finding as well, a lot of UK universities are setting up branches out in the likes of the Middle East, in the UAE example. Is it the same quality of teaching? Some claim it is. It's just a offshoot. It's just a wing of it. But the rates, again, it's not going to be home tuition rates. They're going to charge you according to the local rates here, which, again, I'm sure will be £25,000 upwards, etc. So, there's
a give and take.
There's a give and take. So there's a lot to think about, consider. And we just come back to the point. It's not for everyone. So don't feel like you're missing out just because people down your road, for example, are moving out there and
clearing a lot of money.
Clearing a lot of money, and they're posting pictures of a beautiful lifestyle that they're now living. So look at yourself and what stage of life you're in, and if it makes sense for you, and how long would it make sense for you to do.
Thank you very much, Tan. Any final words? I think that was a great wrap off.
I think that could have probably passed as my final words. But as I say, it's something. It's a moving goalpost all the time. Things are changing a lot of the time in terms of even policies here in the UK, how things are panning out overseas. And we talk about Dubai a lot, but there's going to be other regions, I'm sure, popping up at some point. We heard about the World Cup bids going on and stuff. And so like with that, brings a lot of requirements and need for skills and things. So if there's opportunities out there, it works out for your family, especially even from a religious perspective, by all means, take that leap of faith as well. But just remember where you're coming from as well. And that this sometimes could be it's going to be your backdrop, your fallback. If this is home. When things go wrong, doesn't quite pan out the way you wanted to. So don't sit here criticizing every aspect of Britain and all this stuff and cursing it, because at the end of the day, it's given us a very big start in life, and we have to take that, don't take it for granted, and give shukr. We be grateful for what we've been given in that sense.
Thank you very much, Tan. You did give us some clear gems there, and hopefully those that are ambitious or want to live in another country do so. But make sure the UK is your base. As this is the last episode of the year, a happy new year. Inshallah, you have a great next year. I hope you enjoyed all the episodes that we've done this year and the topics that we've covered. And hopefully, and inshallah, they've all acted as a catalyst for us to change as individuals and as a society. And going forward, inshallah, we're going to have some great content when we do go into 2026. But again, the ethos is the same, is to stimulate conversations amongst ourselves, amongst our communities, amongst our societies, to make a meaningful difference. So we'll see you next year, and a happy new year from us. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.